Hello, my name is Vatsal Shah from Raffles World Academy, and today I want to invite you to glimpse into my life where every day is a new chapter of learning, growth, and discovery. I'm a multifaceted individual with varied interests, from exploring UAE's heritage in the desert and beach outings to playing table tennis. I particularly cherish participating in cultural festivals where I engage in traditional Indian celebrations. I'm also very passionate about connecting with people and creating platforms for networking, whether it is through organizing entrepreneurial conferences, TEDx events that offer students a global stage to express their ideas, or STEM exhibitions aimed at empowering the youth toward driving the AI revolution forward. Each event serves as a stepping stone towards building a more interconnected world. In 2022, I attended the World Scholars Cup in the US, engaging in debates and discussions with individuals from over 60 nationalities to tackle societal issues.
Absolutely amazing. Good morning, good evening, depending upon what part of the world you're in. If it's Friday, it is we bring together people like Vashal who's going to give us some insights as to 17 years old and all you've covered. I see the stages you're on. And the reason we're connected is because of an article you were in Dubai, in the Dubai newspaper. And I'm thinking, wow, at 17, you've done all of this. So we want to talk about that. So let's describe the steps you've gone through at this point in your career, because you've done a lot for someone that's 17 years old, and then you're headed out in September, I think, at University of Michigan. But we can talk about
Yes,
that. So,
yeah.
give us kind of a walkthrough as to how did all this come about?
First of all, I would like to thank you for having me on the show. It really means a lot to be on this platform and the opportunity to share my experiences. And yeah, starting with my journey. So I wasn't always this well-rounded student and motivated student. And if we go back to grade eight, when I was a very big gamer, like every other child, playing
Yeah.
Fortnite, playing video games, playing multiplayer games. And it was only when I came into grade nine, I started to think about how these games actually work in the back end, right? Like when you're playing, you're just having fun, you're enjoying. But I started to wonder, how do these games actually work? What is the programming involved behind it? And that is kind of the time when I was attracted to this field of computer science,
Mm.
and to really gain my knowledge and expand my skills in this subject. I started to take online courses offered by edX and Coursera. So that was like the stepping stone for me to really gain confidence and be able to expand my knowledge base within this field. And once I was able to pick on languages like Python and JavaScript, I started to develop projects, as part of the curriculum. Since I studied in an IB school, so we are always encouraged to go beyond our comfort zones and try new things and try to make new projects. So yeah, that was like my first step into this journey, and there's a lot more which we still have to discuss.
Yeah. You talk about, the comfort zone. Normally, you don't hear a 17-year-old talking about a comfort zone. And this is what amazes me about you and your career is that the impact you're having. When we looked at the video and you were on stage, public speaking is another area that someone may be concerned about, and you were trying to figure out how we were going to do this. So one of the things I noticed in the videos, you were, and this reflects back to the article, you were you weighed a certain amount and you needed to lose weight. Walk us through that journey, because you lost 70 kgs. For US people that are not here, you have to do the calculations on your own in 18 months, and you beat diabetes. And then you started up a fitness freak platform. Walk us through that, because that's amazing.
Yeah, so actually, since childhood, have been having this problem of overeating and being obese. So actually, when I was 10 years of age, I was first diagnosed with diabetes and hypertension. And when I reached 13, I was also diagnosed with borderline sleep apnea. So all of these diseases, these problems were slowly escalating as I was growing older. And for me, the main problem was to control my mind, right? It's all about how we perceive food. And for me, it was a sort of addiction, and it was a sort of a stress buster, because during my grade 8, grade 7 times, I was very low self-esteem, because I didn't have the motivation, confidence, or any ambition, because I was spending half of my time eating medicines and battling with diseases. So it was really, I would say, one of the lowest points of my time. But my parents have been the biggest support for me. Like, they have been the ones who have really allowed me to fight through this whole battle. As I was also bullied, and it wasn't really a great experience for me growing up. But my mom and dad have been my pillars of strength, and I'm really really grateful for them. So yeah, doctors basically told me when I was in grade 8, that you're 140 kgs now. You are having multiple diseases, and if you don't stop now, if you don't change your habits now, then your future is going to be greatly impacted.
Mm.
So it was like you can see a turning point in my life, and I'd already tried multiple times to go
Lose-
on diets and
Yeah.
exercise. The problem was, within the first week, I would stop and I would go back to my original routine. So I think, not just in terms of dieting or weight loss, but in terms of anything you do in life, the first few weeks are always challenging, because you're
Yeah.
trying to do something which you're not used to. It's something uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first month, the results were like almost zero. There was no change. I maybe lost 2 kilos, and yeah, it was definitely devastating, because I put in a lot of effort. Right, you're putting in all these hours, and the output is not reflecting. But I just, my parents told me, and I convinced myself that it's fine. We have to think about the long term. Like, it all will hopefully work out in the end. So hope was a key thing to have, which allowed me to go on this battle. And the thing was, it was online learning during that time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is one of the reasons I actually gained around 15 to 20 kilos during the lockdown period. Like, because
Wow.
I was at home, and yeah, I used to eat McDonald's like every week, 2 to 3 times. I think that's the best thing: soft drinks and McDonald's.
Yeah.
Uh, and then yeah, so when I started this journey, I told my parents, let's take out all junk foods from the house. Let's take out all chocolates, all soft drinks, and we brought in a lot of supplements. So I brought in protein chips. I brought in coconut water instead of Pepsi, which was a replacement. And I also started eating a lot of nuts and oatmeals. So
Okay.
I was able to separate my meals into a 5 meal plan, instead of just eating randomly, and I cut down the portions. The portions was the main part as well. So I used to eat 4 plates a meal, like anytime I ate food before. So I gradually went to 3, 2, and 1. Yes, 4 at a
Four
time.
plates.
Yeah. So it was really, I'm still a big lover of food, but I eat in limits, because you should
Yeah.
savor what you eat. I used to eat too quickly as well. That's another problem.
Yeah.
And that really it takes time for your brain to register that you're full now. But then you've already eaten so much that your stomach keeps on expanding. It's like a balloon. The more you fill it in, the more
Yeah.
it's gonna,
Mm.
yeah. So this is how it started. And then I did a lot of swimming, because gym was difficult, as my body was very obese, and it was difficult for me to, I would get cramps, and I would get a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
So doctors recommended me to take swimming as an activity, because it's more easier to do, and it's also good to build stamina and build the confidence. So instead of eating food in snack times, I used to go to the swimming pool, and I used to take around 50 laps every day.
Wow.
That was one of the
A lot.
big activities I did initially.
Yeah.
And then simultaneously, within the first 6 months, I was able to lose around 40 kgs. That was a big number.
Really.
So the first month it took 2 kilos. The second month it went down to 5. Third, 10. So the numbers, it was like exponential growth.
Yeah.
And I think the dedication was very important. And
Yeah.
then I started this Instagram channel. It's called Fitness Freak. So in that, I basically just took videos of me doing home workout videos. So the gyms were closed during that period, as
Yeah.
the
I know.
lockdown was there. So I thought of doing, using strength bands and just doing exercises at the home. And yeah, I uploaded videos, and surprisingly, I got a lot of support from my families and other people who were also struggling with the same battle. So that
Yeah.
is when I thought that with internet, I have so much power. I can actually help other people, and I could give them advice on not to the mistakes which I did.
Okay.
And I just felt that I had I had the opportunity to really give back, and hence I decided to scale this further. And I also created a platform. So it's basically a website now, which has interviews with doctors, endocrinologists. We also
Wow.
have a diet plan, and it's a comprehensive platform for viewers to, just dive into health series, look at blogs, and just be inspired by my journey. And today we have approximately 10,000 users already. So I
Wow.
just hope to take this forward and help as many people as possible.
You know what? At 17 years old, and to have that level of learning and putting out a product, that's a totally different mindset. Because I'm thinking, as you're talking, that's at 17. I just got my driver's license. I was only interested in driving cars and hanging out and being cool and all those things. That is absolutely amazing that you were able to pull that all of that together, all those learning together, and move forward. And this is one of the reasons we do the show, is because of the fact that people have interesting lives and we don't really know about that. They don't know the struggles you went through to make that happen. So what was some pivotal moments that you had gone through, to say, you know what, I'm going to learn how to eat better. I'm going to do all these things. So you talked about the weight, and I know I needed to do it, but everybody says, "Oh, I need to lose some weight, and I'm going to do it for 1 week, and then and then it doesn't work, and you move on to something else." So kind of walk us through that.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, like I was on borderline diseases, right? It was almost a life and death situation. Like doctors had told me that, you're very critical. Like the way it's going, it's not looking good. And I did it mainly for my parents because I could see the concern and the worry in their eyes, right? Like every parent wants their child to do well, to prosper, and to grow. And for me, things were on a downhill trend, and I just felt guilty and bad for not being the ideal child, for not being, not being up to their expectations. So I did it for my parents first, and then second, obviously for my health. But yeah, I did it for their love and support because obviously their pampering has gotten me this far. But I also needed to
Yeah.
give back to them in a positive way.
Yeah. So I want to do a quick shout out to people that are listening in. So Devkey says, proud of you. I don't know, but you probably know who they are. And Luri says, proud of you. And Sophie says, such a remarkable achievement at such a young age. Chital says, what an honor to be your parents and such an extraordinary son. So I know that had to come. Is that
Hey, mom,
that,
yeah,
that's your mom? Oh my God. That is absolutely awesome. And Rajenda says, keep it up. Cool, cool. We love this because of the fact that you are unique. I mean, when you think about the story you've told, so far, and the moves you've made to not only to make this happen for you, but to make this happen for other people in doing that. So parents were cool. You did that for them, and now you're going to University of Michigan. So walk us through that.
yeah. So apart from my advocacy for fitness and health awareness, I'm also a public speaker, and I really like to host seminars and activities for students within my school and the UAE community. So on the forefront of STEM education, I'm really fascinated with computer science, as I mentioned earlier, and I founded a STEM society at my school. It's called VR Realm, and our goal is basically to educate grade 6 to 8 students on the emerging technologies, artificial intelligence, programming, and magazine designing. And this was basically a club which we ran on a weekly basis. And we had approximately 20 students, participants. And yeah, we hosted a lot of interactive competitions, because students these days, or children these days, have a very short attention span. And to make things
Yeah,
interactive and engaging as well, I had to think of a way that, it's going to be fun, but they're also going to make use of their learnings and really, be interested in this field. So that is how I was able to captivate a young audience within my club. And towards the end of the year, last year in May, we hosted a STEM fair at my school. So we had approximately 200 participants from grade 6 to 8. And it was basically a robotics fair where students were grouped up into teams of threes. and they developed a robot that has some utility in real life. So from the top of my mind, I remember some projects. One of them was like a transportation system, which basically helps disabled people cross roads, and that was a
Wow.
robot which they developed. And another one was rescue robots. So, when there's natural disasters or any sort of catastrophes, these robots can try to help or at least navigate these environments and try to locate certain survivors. So these topics were really, really fascinating. And it just goes to show, with AI and ChatGPT, like, yes, ChatGPT has come up last year, but AI has
Yeah.
been there since a decade. So it's very fascinating to see how things are going to go from here on.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I'm headed to Pakistan next week, and I'm doing a workshop on Chat GPT, AI, digitization of corporate, which is interesting because I had to do a lot of research to get some background, as it relates to that. So all that's cool. But what I find amazing about your story, and I've mentioned the fact that you were at such a young age, that you're that driven. What causes you to be that driven to say, I can figure it out, but I want to bring along and help other people who may be struggling?
Yeah,
That's
so I
unique.
think
That's unique to have that.
Yeah, I think inspiration is really important. Like I've seen other students and other seniors, like as we were mentioning Akshay, right? I've really seen how they've grown, and I've seen them also doing good stuff for their community.
Yeah.
And I just feel inspired and motivated to become like them, and just try and shape my story and help other people. So one of the biggest inspirations I've had is Aman Burman. I met him last year, and he was really my mentor, and he guided me through the college application process as well. And he's studying at Caltech currently, studying computer science and math. And when I go through his LinkedIn, I go through his profile, it really
Yeah.
inspires me to see how much he had done. Like he had done so many things. So it just tells me that if he can do it, I can do it. Right? We're both the same age, or one
Yeah.
year older. But yeah, I think this you should have some people to look up to, right?
Mm. Okay.
You should be in a circle where there are driven people, and you should learn from their experiences to shape your future.
It's amazing. So you mentioned Ashkay, who is a student now at UCLA. So just for the audience to understand some background, I received a note earlier today from one of my dearest friends here in Dubai, his father, Ashok Gopal, and his wife was your tutor, math tutor growing up. And he says, "Oh my God, you're having him on." And he gave me the whole backstory behind that. Just so you talk about building a network of people, you never know who knows someone else and who can connect. So he gave me the entire backstory about his son, who's at UCLA now, and his wife Savita, who was your math tutor. And that shock is one of my oldest friends here in Dubai. So it's amazing. So thank you for connecting the network.
Yeah.
So what are you looking forward to? You're going to go in as a freshman, starting all over again, trying to learn the landscape, relationships, all those things. How are you going to take it from here once you
Yeah.
get
So I hope to study computer science as well as a second major in business. And yeah, this is my career path. But I definitely want to specialize in certain areas, right? Because computer science is a very vast field. So
yeah.
I've recently been working on projects related to machine learning and artificial intelligence, and computer vision algorithms. So just how these self-driving cars work, and I actually worked on a research project last year with my mentor from University of Cambridge, and we basically evaluated a model which is used by Tesla and other manufacturers, and we were able to notice that during unseen conditions, for example, in rough roads or undeveloped infrastructures, these models were unable to detect the cars, or they were unable to detect people and non-living things. So it just goes to show how there's discrepancies, and there's certain problems with these emerging technologies, and how as a society we should work together to ensure it's ethically implemented, and we cannot just
completely rely on technology to drive cars for us, right? We need to have human intervention.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was one of the conclusions which our research brought. And our research was published in the National High School Journal of Science as well. And yeah,
Really?
these are just some of the experiences I have. And in university, I just hope to keep on learning from seniors, as I had mentioned earlier. I think
Yeah.
LinkedIn is an amazing platform to connect. I've already, started to contact some of the seniors and get their experiences of what they had done well in first year and what advice they have for me.
And that's how we connected. When I read the article in the Divide newspaper, and I said, you know what, let me reach out to him. I said, because 17, how do you do all of this at such a young age? And that's what caused our connection, to grow from there. So I want to do a shout out to Payal Patel. Proud of you. You have inspired and keep inspiring. Best wishes for your future. And Sunil says, that's awesome. Keep it up. You have inspired a lot of people. So what do you when you go to a high school? I'm going to say high school, or maybe a university, and you give a speech, or you talked about public speaking, which you overcome at 17, because a lot of people are terrified of that. What do you try and leave with students? What do you try and leave with them so that they can begin thinking at a higher level as to what my future can look like, or how can I deal with stress or challenges I'm going through? What is the main theme that you try and leave with these people?
So my biggest theme would be self-confidence because it all starts with yourself, right?
Yeah.
People can advise you, people can tell you do this, do that, or join this club or learn this subject, But as long as you don't have that inner voice telling you that you should do this, it's not going to work out. So the first thing would be to identify what you like, right? Your
Yeah.
major is what you like. Like sometimes parents may force their children to go into a particular field, but they may not be interested in that. So I think the first starting point would be to understand what your interests are, and from there, uh, expanding out and seeing what activities, what clubs, what other involvements you want to do,
Mhm.
which link to your interest. Because if you like what you do, you're going to be able to sustain it for a longer period of time.
Mm. You mentioned inner voice. That's
Yeah.
the code that a lot of cases we can't control. That's yipping and yapping and going on and blocking it out, and it's there, there, there. How did you develop a philosophy around that inner voice to say distraction? I'm going to stay on this diet or whatever it is for the next 4 weeks, just because I did. Because that voice could have said, "This is not going to work. Go back to eating the way that you used to eat." How did you figure out, or whether you figured it out, to have that
Oh,
conversation
actually, I read
with
a
an inner
book
coach?
called Power of Habit. So yeah, I read a book called Power of Habit. It's basically teaching you how to manage cues and how to manage habits.
Okay.
So for example, if you take the example of McDonald's again, whenever I see the M logo, I'm like, I want to have those fries, right? I start to smell those fries suddenly, and my
Yeah.
mind is like, yeah, let's go to the drive-thru and let's get some food. But then the thing is, you need to understand to stay away from those cues. So that's what I've done at my home. I used to stand up and take chocolates every day because it was on the table. But when it was
Okay.
not on the table, the cue wasn't there. So it never triggered me to go to that in the first place. I instead went for other supplements which were on the table. So
Okay.
I think you should change the environment you're in, and you should have supportive people around you to help you sustain what you're doing. I think environment is the biggest thing, which plays an impact in your growth. Because even in the school which you're going to, if you have students around you who are equally motivated, if you have seniors who are doing amazing things,
Mm.
it helps you to also be encouraged by them, and it also allows you to have a clear vision of what you want to achieve.
Mhm. That network of like-minded folk,
Yeah.
because the
And again,
distraction.
like you can't find like-minded people all the time. Even in my
Yeah.
school, there are people who are thinking like me, people who don't think like me. They
Yeah.
think that I'm not their friends anymore, or they think I don't speak to them that often anymore. But I know what I'm doing for my own self. I know that right now studying is important. So you should also try to balance that out, because there will be times where you're going to be like stuck in between. You don't know if you should go out and party or if you should stay home and study. See,
Yeah.
priorities is really important.
It is important. So when you think about going into a totally new environment, so you've kind of developed a network in Dubai. You've probably developed a network outside of that, but now you're going into a totally different landscape. You don't know
Yeah.
basically anybody there. What tips would you have for based on past learnings that you're going to be able to get in and begin building the same network that you had, say, here in the Middle East?
Yeah, so in the first few weeks, I'm gonna try and make friends with as many people as possible, because
Okay.
everyone is new, everyone is in their first year undergraduate, so we're all just trying to meet new people. And one thing I would recommend would be, you can try being different, because maybe in Middle East I'm a certain person. People know me as a certain individual, but when I go there, I'm completely new. Nobody knows my backstory. I can
Exactly.
reshape who I am. So I
Hmm.
think that is what's important. You should try to be more extrovert. You should try to express your feelings. I feel people classify people as extroverts or introverts, but I feel it's not fair. I think you can develop skills, you can develop anything over time. It's just about trying to see the new version of yourself that you haven't really utilized to your full potential.
Hmm. So when did you leave Dubai to head to
We'll
Michigan?
be leaving August 10, and the classes start August 26.
Okay, so you all ready for that? So I'm sure you've had friends because Ash K is now at UCLA, I think it is, and
Yeah,
so you've had a network of people who kind of prepping you for what you're going to face, and trying to make that happen. And once you get there, when you begin building up this network, are you going to still try and maintain the same, fitness freak and all of the other little business opportunities you had? How is that going to fit in with this totally new environment?
yeah. So with Fitness Freak, I actually hope to scale it even further. I hope to, conduct research with some of the professors over there and try and see if we can implement new technologies into my platform to maybe make the diets more personalized. And that was one of the things I also mentioned in my application essays. So yeah, I mean, I would really love to continue some of these extracurriculars. Obviously, not all of them is possible because I hope to do new things over there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's definitely important to try and maintain some of the crucial things which you have done, and
Mhm.
keeping up with it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I'll go back to um, you've had mentors as you've gone through this journey. So what is your role? How do you foresee your role as bringing other people along who could be struggling? And once you get and understand the landscape, how do you begin mentoring people? What is your key insights on based on what you've gone through? You've talked about your parents. Someone may not have had the great parents that you have had, and they're trying to figure out how do I can I get a mentor? Any advice on that?
Yeah. So in my case, I've actually worked closely with grade 11 and 10 students, and I think the qualities of a mentor should be very approachable, and they should be willing to help you throughout the process. So like I've exchanged numbers with a lot of my juniors, and they always ask me if they have any questions with academics or is it extracurriculars, and I'm always trying my best to give them the insights and information as possible. And in terms of reaching out to people, I think online platforms are definitely a good way, but also within your environment, you should not feel afraid of reaching up to your seniors and just asking them about their experiences, college applications, or whatever it is about their personal life. I think being open-minded in that sense is really important, and willing to meet new people is a crucial factor. I think the
Mm.
problem with many people or many children might be that they're stuck in this bubble of people, like they know their friends and they're just too connected with them, and they're
Yeah.
afraid of trying to
Yeah.
check new people or meet new people, and I
Yeah.
think that can prevent them from you know exploring new opportunities.
Yeah, that's what kind of caught me when I watched the video was the fact that you were at 16, 17, that you were giving speeches, that you felt comfortable. Well, I'm going to say comfortable because anytime you public speak, there's always a little nervousness there, but you felt comfortable commanding the stage. which comes about, over a period of time and trying to get to that mindset. I thought that was amazing. I do a lot of public speaking, and I know that you just don't walk into that. How were you able to corral that at your age, 15, 16, 17, to go on a
Yeah.
stage and say, give us your insights or whatever?
So the first time I actually spoke in a larger audience was in grade 10. So I was the topper at my school, and I was basically told to give the valedictorian address. And yeah, that was one of my first public speaking experiences. And I wrote up a script. I memorized it a couple of times, and the main thing was just to be confident. And I think not being scared of the number of people there are, but just focusing on yourself, and that you have worked hard, and just sharing what you have achieved. So I
Hmm.
think if you stop worrying about the people and start focusing on what you want to achieve and what you want to achieve by your speech, that may help you to be calm and focused.
Okay, cool. I want to give a shout out to my very dear friend who's in Vietnam now. He's a big shot attorney in Washington D.C., but I say he's in Vietnam. He says good evening, and Sophie says excited for the impact you will make at University of Michigan. So University of Michigan have no idea what they're going to get when you get there. Once you get settled in, they have no idea. No
Nice.
idea that the impact that you're going to have. So walk us through the STEM Club and VR Realm.
Yeah. So I started this club in.
Let me put it this way: another one of your subsidiaries.
Yeah. So in grade 10, I just told three of my friends, we should start something in the realm of STEM. And our school didn't really have a STEM club. So this
Yeah.
was a gap which was there, and we thought we could fill it in effectively. And we started off with a weekly meetings, and we put up posters around the school and advertised it as much as possible. So we had 20 participants, and on a weekly basis, we basically had a lesson plan. We had, what we want to cover, which topic are we going to go over, and we really utilized a lot of online tools, such as Scratch for block-based programming. And since they're grade 6 and 8, they do not have so much experience with hardcore coding. So we were trying to build up the building blocks and ensure that they are, prepared as they enter grade 9 and high school. So that was the main focus. And my school teacher, my computer science head as well, Miss Almas, she was really supportive in helping us establish
Okay.
this club.
Ms. Amas, thank you for what you've unleashed on the world. So thank you for that. Um, in the area that you're focusing on, there's so much innovation that's coming through. Chat GPT kind of took the breath out of the world a year or so ago, whenever that was released. And now it's just another iteration, and all these things are coming about. How do you stay a kind of ahead of the curve with all these things that are coming about? I mean, I do a lot of reading myself, and it's just from one thing to the other. What is your plan? How do you work it from your side? Because you're going to be involved in a lot of that more so than I am. I'm just reading the repercussions and trying to apply it. You're in the developing phase. I'm going to say developing of the innovation phase.
Yeah, yeah. So I personally watch a lot of podcasts, with all these CEOs who are creating these products, and I want to understand their perspective of what's going on in their minds as they're actually making it. And I think that really gives me an insight of understanding the purpose of these models, and how we can use it as a tool. So people, when they look at ChatGPT, they have two things. They either are happy that it's helping them
Uh,
to do their tasks easily, or they're scared that their jobs are going to go away.
yeah.
Now, it is true that it's automating a lot of the things, but like any other technology, it's in the long term, it's going to be beneficial because it's going to really speed up some of the monotonous work,
Yeah.
right? It's going to focus on humans ideating solutions and brainstorming. I think that's what humans are made for.
Mm.
Yes, we can write scripts, we can do things, but you need to have a human intervention to be able to deliver it effectively.
Mhm.
So yes, humans' roles is not going to be eradicated, but it's going to be changed and shifted. And I think that's why continuous learning is really important. And even in my case, like I always want to keep up to date with all these new technologies. And recently, GPT-0 also came out. It's like a virtual assistant where you can speak with ChatGPT now. I
Yeah,
find that extremely fascinating. um yeah, and that's really like a human. It really sounds like a human. So it is definitely scary, but I think reading the news, you're looking at YouTube videos and just trying to keep up with this technology is
yeah.
important, because in the next 5 years or decade it's going to become the norm, just like Google becomes the norm.
Exactly, exactly. So I was sitting in the barbershop today, as you can see here, and I was reading an article from Gartner McKinsey. And they were talking about Chat GPT AI infiltration into the organization. And I saw a segment there, a percentage of people says they will never use it. We'll never allow this in our organization. I said, you will be out of business in a matter of time. Because I thought to when I'm going to date this a little bit, when they had they had the keypads with the adding machines or whatever it was. When they first came out, the portable ones, I saw a photo online of professors at a university that were picketing to try and get young people or the school to not allow handheld, the handheld piece. And I'm thinking, same stuff from here. Now it's the Chat GPT AI. And how could you be in a leadership position and you're not willing to try and at least explore? Because you never know what's going to come about as a result of that. Do you find that people that you're talking to, well, maybe not in your circles, that are a little afraid or skittish? Because you mentioned that in the end, we will all be better off as a result. What would be if you had to give a speech to a room full of so-called CEOs, big shots, as it relates to innovation and all the things that are coming forward, what would you want to leave them with?
Yeah, so AI is going to become a tool, and I think just negating it completely is not a good start, because if you don't use it, it's going to become your loss because other companies are going to use it. There are many
Yeah,
startups which are based on these AI models now, and it's really going to become a profitable industry. And it's not just about one field. It's not just about computers. It's about retail. It's about
mm,
fashion industry. It's going to help every single component to develop, because it's going to allow humans to automate a lot of the other tasks. And yes, it may feel that it's something new, it's something unpredictable, but countries are working together to make it as systematic as possible. I would say regulating its usage might be the first step, but you cannot completely ban it, because that's just calling troubles in the long run for yourself
mm-hmm,
and your company.
mm-hmm. Want to recognize some people. You've got a large audience of people who are listening in here. Rajenda says, all the best. Sunil says, too good, all the best, keep it up. Shagufta says, amazing inputs. And Shazad says, all the best. I mean, you've got a lot of people that's listening in on you. So you have a fan base already. So I'm already a number one fan. So welcome to the club, everyone. And these people probably know you a lot longer than I have. So if you look back on your journey, what was the most pivotal point that you knew you were onto something? And I'm gonna not follow the crowd. I'm gonna try this.
I would say it's been grade 9 to grade 10 period, where I just discovered that I have the potential to do well in academics, because once I lost the weight, it really gave me the confidence to do well in subjects. I
Mm,
think when I was doing poorly in my subjects before, and I didn't have self-esteem, that really pulled me down from reaching my full potential. And I still have not reached my full potential. I think you can never reach your full potential. You can always try to be perfect, but no one is perfect. And I think failure and mistakes is a really important component for discovering who you are going to be. You can
yeah,
only shape yourself, but you cannot like expect to become successful in one day. It's just a journey, and I think I believed in that journey. And by God's grace and by the support of all of the individuals who have been in my journey, I've been able to have been accepted into University of Michigan, and I hope to continue my 4 years there. And strive for excellence.
You mentioned failure. I read a quote that says failure, I think it's Bill Gates that said that failure is the greatest learning opportunity. Success, you're going to get a skewed version of what the learning is from that. But failure and trying to figure out that failure as to why that happened is probably one of the greatest components. And that was very interesting that you mentioned that. So we use kind of the same concept in the business I'm in. If you're working with a client, you'll say, what worked, what did not work, and what can we do differently next time to do that. Reflection point, and I want to get better at what I do. And the only way I'm going to be able to do that is look why I failed last time. So that was important that you mentioned that. It, it sounds as if I'm talking to a person that's 3 times your age, first of all. Because I talk to CEOs, I spend a lot of times with CEOs and leaderships, and the insight and anchors that you have in a lot of cases that may not be mentioned. So maybe they didn't have failures, but you're talking through it from that vantage point. What was the learning that came from that? How did you start realizing that if I failed here, it's okay, but I'm going to spend some time trying to figure out how can I not fail next time? Any thoughts to that?
I think if it's academics, you should really sit down and see what went wrong in that exam. And I had that drive to go to the teachers after school and ask them how I can improve. You should have an initiative. And I just showed my initiative and my dedication, and teachers supported me throughout the process. So I think you need to have a certain attitude towards your learning or towards whatever you're doing. And other people around you will notice and appreciate it. And I think that's what happened in my case. Yes, I may have been lucky with the people who I had around me,
Yeah.
but I was also really dedicated to just trying to be the best version of myself. So I
Hmm.
never compared myself to anyone, because I
Okay.
feel comparing people is not a good idea, because everyone has their own circumstances, everyone has their own situations, right? And comparing is only going to make you feel less confident about yourself.
Mm.
So yeah, whenever I wake up, I just tell myself that I'm going to do my best today and I'm going to be the best person today, but
Mm.
I'm not being arrogant. It's just about my own sense of, it's my fuel which keeps me going.
Yeah. So do you think that weight problem you had was the launch pad for all of this?
That was definitely one of the launch pads. And I think without that, I wouldn't have been able to rise at all. And then there have been a lot of small components as well, like getting good grades and then, getting to meet new people, establishing societies, clubs. These are all a product of my confidence, and
Mm.
that happened because of my weight loss. And I
Yeah.
just feel that life, it's so incredible to see that I was able to lose weight like at the very right time. Like if I was late, I wouldn't have been gotten a chance to do whatever I did.
Yeah.
So I think it's God's miracle, and I'm really really thankful for that.
Yeah, it's amazing because I look at the videos. I know the backstory behind it because I read it in the what newspaper was that? Dubai, uh,
Gulf News.
Gulf News. I read it in Gulf News, and I saw the change that you had gone through, and it's absolutely amazing. And I was thinking as you were talking through this, if that wouldn't have happened, where would we be now in talking through that? So let's talk through challenges you've had, or challenges that an individual could have, and how could you, what are some anchor points is that how do I learn from this, because this didn't work well.
Yeah. So I would say you should think about what you did and why it didn't work. You should take feedback. Feedback is really important, in my
Okay.
opinion. Whether it's you're building a solution, building a product, even with my uh, research paper, my paper didn't get accepted in the first round. It got rejected first. They gave me feedback.
Okay.
So that was one of the stepping stones, and it just shows that the rigor of the scientific society, and how you need to establish certain standards. So it was all a learning curve for me, and I was open to suggestions, open to re-implementing things, and ensuring that I met the standards. So I think it's really important to learn from people who have experience, right?
Okay.
I think that's what I did in my case, and I was really grateful to have people who supported me and who made me understand how to navigate life.
You mentioned that about feedback. I remember reading a book years ago. It was called Feedback is a Gift. And it was one of the most amazing books because lots of times people are skittish about someone giving them feedback and they may take it the wrong way. And the book was saying it's a gift. Take back and you package that feedback. That's the fuel to go to the next step. You mentioned a book earlier that was instrumental in your life. What was the name of that book again?
The Power of Habit.
Power of Habit. Okay, that's on my reading list. So thank you for that. Our time is coming up. So one of the goals of the show is to bring people together. You're the youngest guest we've ever had on. So normally it's a lot of so-called big shots. I'm going to call them big shots. But you're the youngest guest that we have ever had on the show. But your output and what you talked us through was absolutely amazing for someone that's 17 years old. It was a lot of learning as a result of that. So any thoughts that you'd want to leave the audience with before we close out?
Yeah, so I think just, being surrounded by the people who care for you is important. Because in life, in my experience as well, I've seen people who support me and those people who don't. And I've seen people change their perspectives about me just because of my body. And I've seen how people can try to be pretentious. They can be hollow at times, and they can just have this, this false face in front of you, and behind there's someone completely different. But I feel it's important to have a neutral stance and recognize people who will definitely support you and who really care about you.
Mhm.
And I think recognizing and appreciating people who are with you is important, and not being demotivated by others who may try to pull you down. I think that's one of the things which has happened in my case as well. And at times I did feel disheartened, but then I told myself that it's my goal, it's my journey. I won't let anyone else dictate it. I will control my life the way I want to.
Thanks for that, because you'll always have people that's pulling you down or a negative view towards what you're doing, and to be able to manage that. So thank you so much for this and such an informative session that we've had for the past 45 minutes. For the people that's listening in, share this with your network of people. Like us on YouTube, and every Friday we're here and we interview interesting people. But I got to say, you're at top level. At 17 years old, yes, you're at the top level because of the insight that you brought with us today. So thank you so much. Hang on as we begin the process of closing out.
Take the CEO series with you anywhere, anytime. All episodes are now available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and major streaming platforms. It's not just an interview. It's a masterclass in leadership.